Welcome, welcome, welcome to our class today, and we are focusing on the lower back. So loosening off the lower back and stretching the lower back, and maybe a little dash of abdominals as well. So all you're going to need for your class today is maybe a block, or if you've got some books or a cushion is fine as well. So nothing that's too big. Like even this one might be a little bit big for some people. But yeah, just something that you can elevate your hips with. I like to have a cushion there because I'm a princess. So, shall we get started? So, the first thing we're going to do is just take a moment to stretch off or release the front of the body. So, especially if you've had a whole day of sitting, this part over here between the leg and the hips, I want to use the term shrink, but it's not technically what happens, but it gives you that idea. It kind of shrinks the muscles or shortens the muscles. So we're just going to take a moment to stretch out and just give those muscles a chance to release a little bit before we get started. So you'll come onto your back. You can do this on the bed as well, as long as you haven't got a really bouncy bed. So you're going to pop the block under your hips, under your bums. So you don't want the block too high because that's going to come into your lower back, kidney area. It's not going to feel very comfortable. It's going to actually be quite horrible. And have a play with where the block is going to be. So we're going to have the legs straight. Okay. So for some people, having the block a little bit more towards the coccyx will feel better for them, or maybe having the block a little bit higher towards like the elastic band of your trousers, maybe that will feel better. So just have a play with that because there isn't one right position, but providing you can see how this part of the body is now completely stretched. So you can either have your hands out to the side, or if you want to get more out of this, you can bring your hands to the wall behind you. So just relaxing them there. You might need to just shuffle the shoulders. So just to start with, have the feet a little bit wider. And we're just going to start to roll the legs in and out. And pay attention to what you can feel around the front of the hips, this area. And also notice what you can feel in the back. So just above your bum cheeks, you've got that hard, chunky part of the pelvis. It's called the sacrum. Notice if you can feel anything around there as well. And don't worry if you don't feel anything. Body awareness will come with time. Some people just will never have body awareness. It's just how the brain feels the body. So don't get too fixated. It is working, even if you can't feel it. So like for me, I can feel when I take the feet in here, it gets quite tight over there. So that's telling me that the right hip might be a little bit more tighter than the left hip. So there might be more restriction in that side because the muscles are, like I said, they're shrinking. But technically they don't shrink. Not in the terms that we think. Good. That's just to loosen that off a little bit. So now bring your hands down. And then bring your legs so that your toes are in alignment with the hips. So you won't be able to see them if you've got your hips elevated. But what I want you to notice right now is how does your lower back feel in this position? So for some of you, you might not notice anything. It was just like, oh, that's just a nice stretch. And for some of you, you might already be getting a lot of discomfort in the lower part of the back towards the bum cheeks. So if you are, you're not doing any harm. If you've watched our introductory videos, you'll remember I spoke about the psoas muscle, and that's spelled P-S-O-A-S. So being in this position stretches off that psoas muscle, so you may get this pulling or discomfort in the lower back. But actually, if you are getting that discomfort, then this is good, really, then you know this is excellent for you. So from here, just want you to slide, let me start with the right leg, slide your right leg in, just to shuffle myself, and then bring the knee in towards the chest. So you can either hold the front of the leg or just hold the back of the leg. And actually holding the front and the back does feel slightly different. So just play with it. So sometimes I'll use the front. I find if I use the back of the thigh, I can get a little bit of a different sensation, which I prefer. So we're just going to hold that. But now at the same time, as you're drawing this leg in towards you, your left leg, you want to be reaching it away and sending the back of the left leg down. So what might happen when you start to bring this leg in, if the other leg hip is also quite tight, it will start to lift. So send that left leg away. So really focus on the back of your left thigh, trying to send it down. Now, if you've had a hip replacement, as a general rule of thumb, depending on what your consultant has said, because there's so many different kinds of hip replacements, you don't want to be bringing this leg, I mean this hip is tight anyway, you don't want to be bringing that leg right up there. You can keep it more or less at 90 degrees. Okay, so if you've had a hip replacement, obviously if your consultant has said carry on as normal, you can just forget that you've even had a hip replacement, then by all means. But just as a rule of thumb, we don't want to bring this one too far in when you've had a hip replacement. And then send your heel down and slide it back out to the end of the mat. Oh, that really hurts on that side. And then slide the left leg in and then bring that knee in. And you can have a little ankle twirl if you want. Send your right leg away now. So notice, does that leg want to pop up? If it is, it's telling you that this is also restricted. So really try and get that leg down so that we can stretch it at the same time. So what we're actually working with this movement is we're getting into the lower back area. So left heel goes down, slide it out, bring the right leg in. We're just going to carry on with this. We're getting into that joint, that sacrum that I told you about. So there's actually a joint there called the sacroiliac joint. And what we're doing now is working into that joint. So as I send one leg away and bring the other one in, you've got two parts of your pelvis. So one part we're trying to send slightly forward and one part we're trying to send slightly back, so that this joint in the middle can get a little bit of movement. It is supposed to have that slight movement because it's not one whole bony structure, there's cartilage in between it. And because the pelvis has to move like that, we want to make sure that that joint can move freely. Like I said, but you might notice one leg you can pull in quite easily and the other one you can't. So let's just do the last one on this side. Good. And then bring both knees in, have a little cuddle, and then we'll come off of the block. Roll onto your side and then just bring yourself into a seated position. And you can put your block to one side and then we'll come into this position. Let me just put my mat straight. There we go. So the next movement we're going to go into is called half rollbacks. And I'll take you from a very easy, I say very easy, simple version or a less challenging version, and I'll take you up to different levels. But if you've done Pilates before and you know how to do these, then you can choose which level you want to work at. But I'm going to start at the lowest level first. So have your knees hip width apart and your feet are flat on the floor. Now, if you have got a big belly in the way, you can have your knees a little bit wider. So don't get fixated on the knees must be in that position. We're actually working the lower back, so it really doesn't matter what your legs are doing. So just have it where you can sit up nice and tall. That's the most important thing. Start with the hands behind the thighs. Now, obviously, I have got arms like orangutan, so I can hold here. You might have shorter arms and you might have the hands over there. So just wherever you can reach behind your legs. Take a moment to lengthen your spine up towards the ceiling. And I want you to imagine you've got a princess crown on your head with all these beautiful diamonds. And you're going to try and reach your diamonds up towards the ceiling without tilting the head back, because then your crown's going to fall off your head. So you really want to be lifting. Think of sending the ears away from the shoulders and up towards the ceiling. And then draw your shoulders forward, take them up to your ears, roll them down the back, and now try and touch the back of your hips with your shoulder blades. So we're trying to create the space between neck and shoulders. Draw the shoulder blades slightly together, just to stop any hunching in the back there. So this is quite an active position. So if you're not feeling it, guess what? You're not working hard enough. So now from here, breathe in. And as you exhale, you're going to draw your tummy in and push your belly button towards your lower back and start to tilt off of your sitting bones. Now we go towards the coccyx. And then we're going towards that bony part that I was talking about, the sacrum, and we hold it there. So my feet haven't moved. Relax the shoulders and just let your neck follow your spine. So I'm not actively looking down and I'm not actively looking up. My gaze is probably towards the floor in front of the feet. It's the natural place where the neck will follow. Just holding it there. Now, take a moment and bring your attention to the space between your ribs and your hips. And you want to imagine that you're actually trying to get your rib cage to touch your hip bones. Obviously, you're not a contortionist, but really draw in that tummy. So there's not much space for you to breathe in here. So the only place you can inhale in is through your back and under the arms. So inhale. And then as you exhale, you bring yourself back up again, right into that starting position. So have a little shoulder roll if you want to lengthen the spine. So breathing in, exhale, tuck the tailbone under, draw that tummy in. So we really want to try and get the tummy to do all of the work. So just notice if there's lots of gripping in the leg, can you try and relax the legs a little bit? Soften through the shoulders. Take a breath in, and then exhale as you come back up again. So just to throw a spanner in the works, we're actually going to change the breath, just so that you can see it really doesn't matter sometimes when you breathe in or out. There will be times that breathing out is more appropriate, like when we do the roll back part. So inhale, and then exhale. Now when you inhale, you can come up as well. See? So try not to get too fixated on the breath. Your body will naturally know when you should be breathing in or out, because sometimes it's like if you try and did the inhale on this part of the breath, you'd probably find it feels quite weird and the body doesn't want to do that. So the next level we're going to work at is the hands out in front. Now, if you prefer to stay here, let's say you've never done Pilates before and you've, for whatever reason, you found that challenging enough, then that's where you're going to stay. I'm just going to make it a little bit harder in case you want a little bit more yumminess. So have the hands out in front. Now, be mindful that the shoulders don't climb up towards the ears. So lengthen your diamonds up to the ceiling. Relax the shoulders down the back. And you almost want to think of lifting your heart a little bit. And then reach the hands forward without the shoulders coming up over the top. Breathing in. And then exhale. Tuck the tailbone under. Now pull the tummy in. You really want your abdominals to do all of the work for you. So pull the tummy in, pull it in, till you come off of the coccyx towards the sacrum. So you're really trying to round in this lower part of the back. So we're stretching all of these muscles in the lower back and at the same time working the abdominal muscles. And then breathe in or out as you come up, whichever one you prefer. So let's do a few more. Inhale, exhale. Draw your tummy in towards the spine, hips to ribs. Now notice if your legs have started shaking all over the place. Reach those hands forward without the shoulders climbing. Breath into your back and under the arms. And then exhale as you come back up again, grow nice and tall. Let's do one more. So Pilates is all about contrology, control the body. That's what Joseph Pilates used to call it. So when I say be aware of what your legs are doing, sometimes when you go back, maybe your knees want to come together, maybe one leg is pulling out, and you want to send signals to all the muscles in your body to control it, making sure the knees stay completely still. Maybe your feet want to lift. And then exhale as you come back up again. And then release. Well done. So, the last one we're going to be doing is something called single leg stretch. So we'll start with a block under the head. So if you've done Pilates before and you don't need a block, then you don't need to have one. But there's a reason that we actually teach with blocks under the head for certain movements, and I'm going to explain to you why. So whenever the head is slightly elevated, it supports the lower back a lot more. So it starts like, even in this position, my lower back is more down than if the block was away. There's a bit of a gap there now. So having the spine a little bit towards the floor is a bit safer, especially if you're new and you need to strengthen the abdominals. It just helps the mind to be more aware of the lower back, but also just helps to support the lower back. So bring one knee into your chest and then bring another knee into your chest. Now if you can't reach the front of your legs, you just hold behind the legs. From here, take a breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to lift your head. Oh, I'm getting stuck. And look towards your pubic bone. Take your elbows wide and just be there for a minute. Just feel this position. Notice how your head feels, your neck. So for some people, you might get a sore neck. It's completely normal in Pilates. I always think my my neck is too long for my head. And then bring your head back down again. So another good thing about having the block is that if you get too painful around your neck, you just put your head back down there, and it still offers that support in your lower back. So I'm going to start with the head down, the easier version, or the less strenuous, should I say, and then we'll make it a little bit harder. So I'm going to take both my hands and put them either on the top of the right leg or behind the back of the right leg, and I'm going to reach this left leg away. Okay? So you can either be there or you can be there. Now remember what we did at the beginning of the class. You're going to pull this leg in. Unless you've had that hip replacement, that knee is going to stay a little bit further out. Okay? Then you're going to change and you're going to reach. Now what I want you to focus on with the straight leg is, imagine there's something on the ceiling and you're trying to touch it with your toes. So you really want to point the toes and reach away. Pull the other knee in towards your chest. And then we'll switch. So people often ask me, should I be pointing my toes or should I be flexing? If you're after knee strengthening exercises, then flex your feet. Because that is going to help engage the front of the leg, which means you're strengthening your quad muscles, which support the kneecaps, the knee joints. So you can flex the feet. Perhaps if you've got flat foot, so you need to build the arch in your foot, then you will have pointy toes. So now let's make this a little bit harder for those of you that want to go harder. You're going to lift your head, come onto the shoulder blades, and look at your pubic bone. So the whole time your eyes want to be on the pubic bone. So reach away with the straight leg, pull the other leg in, and switch. Now what we're trying to avoid, and I'm going to exaggerate it, is rocking. Okay? We want to do complete stability. So reach away, pull the leg in. Reach away, pull the leg in. Got cramp in those toes. Notice if the bra strap is touching the floor, can you come up a little bit higher? And hopefully by now, your body temperature is increasing. Unless you've got menopause, hot flushes, it's like, oh, do we need to get hotter? Good. Bring your knees in, have a little rest, and then pop your feet on the floor. Well done, guys. I know that's quite a challenging one. thought I'd throw it in. It really helps, A, to strengthen the abdominals, but also it gets that sacroiliac joint moving as well. So a fantastic exercise. So just have a little flomp. So have your feet hip-width apart, hands to the side, and nice and gently just move the legs from one side to the other, just to loosen that off. Good. And then we'll roll onto the side, hands onto the floor, push yourself up. And there we go, there's your class for today. So a nice little back stretching that we've got there. We've stretched off the front of the hips, and then we've done a little bit of strength to build the abdominal muscles. Because often what happens is there's certain things that happen in the body with sitting all day, and it tends to be the abdominals get weak, the back of the legs, there's issues in the front of those hips. So some of these movements help with all of those things. And so carry on with those exercises. You know, maybe there's one of those that you particularly enjoyed, or perhaps you didn't enjoy. Maybe do a little bit more of them. As Joseph Pilates says, what you don't like, do more of, which I don't. Do we all? So have a good day, guys. Bye.